In medieval England, property ownership wasn't just about having a place to sleep. It was the very foundation of power, survival, and social mobility. Between 1300 and 1400, England witnessed the emergence of what we might recognise as the first commercial real estate market, with close to 100,000 recorded property transactions showing the beginning of property as an asset class. Yet this market operated within a rigid, three-tier social system that determined not just what you could buy, but whether you could buy anything at all. Under feudalism, all land was ultimately held by the crown, with estates granted to lords who parcelled out property to tenants in an intricate web of obligations and dependencies. For the vast majority, perhaps 75% of the population, property ownership remained an impossible dream. They were trapped in a cycle of weekly rent payments that consumed up to half their meagre incomes. The emerging middle class, roughly 20% of the population, and concentrated in guild-controlled urban centres, found themselves uniquely positioned to participate in this new property economy. Meanwhile, the nobility, a mere 5% of society-controlled vast rural estates that came with both immense wealth and crushing feudal obligations. Medieval real estate functioned as more than mere shelter. It was security, business opportunity, social status, and political power rolled into one. The type of property you could access determined your economic prospects, your legal protections, your social connections, and ultimately your family's future for generations. In this world, your address wasn't just where you lived, it was who you were. Now, let's start today's story. Find somewhere comfortable, perhaps adjust those pillows, pull up that blanket, because we're about to journey back to 1380 London, where property meant everything, and everything depended on which social class you were born into. Close your eyes and prepare to experience medieval real estate through the eyes of Thomas Gardner, a cloth merchant whose property ambitions will show us exactly how three very different social classes navigated the complex world of medieval property ownership. The first pale light of dawn seeps through the oiled parchment windows of your bedchamber, casting dancing shadows across the rough-hewn oak beams overhead. You are Thomas Gardner, a cloth merchant of 32 years, and you're waking in your own house, a privilege that still fills you with quiet pride even after 5 years of ownership. This two-storey timber-framed building on Bread Street represents everything you've worked for since arriving in London as a wide-eyed apprentice 15 years ago. Your wife Margaret stirs beside you, her linen cap slightly askew from sleep. Through the floorboards beneath your feet, you can hear the muffled sounds of your shop below the creak of wooden shelves, the rustle of fabric bolts, the soft footsteps of your senior apprentice already beginning the day's preparations. This integration of home and business isn't just convenient, it's the foundation of your growing wealth and the key difference between your situation and the desperate housing struggles you witness daily on London's crowded streets. Rolling from your straw mattress, considerably more comfortable than anything you knew in your village youth, you pad barefoot to the window and peer down at Bread Street beginning to stir with morning activity. The narrow thoroughfare, barely wide enough for 2 carts to pass, separates your property from similar merchant houses. Their overhanging second stories, creating a tunnel-like effect that keeps the street in perpetual twilight. But this shadowy intimacy breeds both community and competition among your merchant neighbours. Your house, purchased for £12 sterling in 1375, represents a carefully calculated investment. The ground floor serves as your cloth shop, with wide wooden doors that fold back completely during business hours to display your wares to passing customers. Bolts of wool, linen, and the occasional precious silk create a colourful tapestry that draws both serious buyers and curious browsers. Behind the shop, a smaller room stores your most valuable inventory, the fine fabrics that require protection from both theft and the London dampness that can destroy a merchant's fortune in a single mouldy season. The second story contains your family's living quarters, this master bedchamber where you and Margaret sleep, a smaller room for your 2 young children, and a common area where the family takes meals during cold weather. The arrangement might seem cramped by modern standards, but it represents luxury beyond the dreams of most Londoners. You have private space, secure storage, and most importantly, you own it all outright. As you dress in your woolen hose and linen, tunic fine quality but deliberately modest, as befits a guild merchant who must balance success with humility, you mentally review today's appointments. Sir Robert Fitzwalter's steward will arrive before noon to examine the Flemish wool you've been holding for his household. The transaction, if successful, will net you nearly £3 profit, enough to make a serious payment toward the second property you've been eyeing near Cheapside. This second property represents your next step up the merchant hierarchy. Unlike your current house, which combines residence and shop, the Cheapside property would be pure investment, a 2-story building you could subdivide and rent to multiple families. The rental income would provide steady money flow independent of your cloth trade's seasonal fluctuations. More importantly, it would establish you as a property owner rather than merely a shopkeeper, a distinction that carries weight in guild politics and London society. Margaret appears at your elbow, having donned her brown woolen dress and carefully arranged her white linen wimple to completely cover her hair. Her presence reminds you that your property ownership extends beyond mere business calculation. This house provides security for your family that no amount of portable wealth could guarantee. In a world where political upheavals, guild disputes, and economic crashes can destroy merchants overnight, property ownership offers the closest thing to permanent security available to the middle class. The alderman's wife sent word yesterday, Margaret says quietly, not wanting to wake the children. She's interested in viewing the blue silk we discussed. If she purchases for her daughter's wedding, we could clear enough profit to approach Master William about his warehouse shares. This mention of warehouse shares sends a familiar thrill through your chest. Master William, a senior member of your guild, has offered you the opportunity to purchase a 1/4 share in his wool storage facility near the Thames docks. The investment would cost £8 more than half your current liquid assets, but would provide both storage for your growing inventory and a share of the profits from renting space to other merchants. You move to the wooden chest that contains your most precious possessions, the property deeds that prove your ownership of this house. The parchment documents, sealed with wax and witnessed by guild officials, represent more than legal ownership. They're proof that you've escaped the rental dependency that traps most of London's population. Unlike the poor families you see crowding into subdivided houses, paying weekly rents that consume half their earnings, you've achieved the security of ownership. The morning ritual of reviewing these deeds has become a source of both pride and motivation. Each time you read the formal Latin phrases that transfer ownership to Thomas Gardner, cloth merchant of London, and his heirs forever, you remember your father's 1-room peasant cottage, where your entire family shared a single sleeping space with their livestock. Property ownership represents not just personal success, but generational transformation. Your children will grow up assuming property ownership is normal, a privilege your father could never have imagined. From your window, you can see the sharp contrasts that define London's property landscape. 3 doors down, the goldsmith Edmund Blackwood owns a house nearly twice the size of yours. its facade decorated with carved wooden figures that announce his higher guild status and greater wealth. His property cost at least £20, and rumour suggests he's negotiating to purchase a country manor that would establish his family among the landed gentry. Conversely, at the lane's end, you glimpse the ramshackle wooden additions that house London's working poor. Families crowd into single rooms, sharing cooking fires and chamber pots, paying rents that rise with each new wave of rural migrants seeking urban opportunities. Their weekly payments often exceed what you spend monthly on property maintenance, yet they accumulate no ownership, no security, no foundation for advancement. This stark inequality isn't accidental. It's the result of legal, economic, and social systems that channel property ownership toward guild members while systematically excluding outsiders. Your ability to purchase property depends on guild membership, which requires both substantial capital and acceptance by existing members. The poor lack both resources and access, while the nobility operates in entirely different property markets focused on rural estates and feudal obligations. As you prepare to descend to your shop and begin another day of building wealth through property and trade, you understand that your house represents more than shelter. It's your stake in London's emerging commercial economy, your family's security against an uncertain future, and your platform for continued social advancement in a world where property ownership determines not just where you live, but who you can become. You step out of your house into the narrow confines of Bread Street, and immediately the harsh realities of London's housing crisis assault your senses. The morning air carries the acrid smell of too many people crowded into too little space-unwashed bodies, cooking fires, and the ever-present stench of chamber pots that can't be emptied quickly enough. This is the daily reality for the vast majority of London's population, those for whom property ownership remains an impossible fantasy. 3 lanes over, in the shadow of your guild's prosperous district, lies Pudding Lane, a cramped thoroughfare where London's working poor struggle daily with housing costs that would shock even experienced merchants like yourself. Here, property ownership is a foreign concept, replaced by a grinding cycle of weekly rent payments that consume between 30 and 50% of a labourer's meagre earnings. Walking through this district on your way to the docks, you encounter William Cooper, a carpenter in his 40s whose calloused hands speak of decades spent building the very houses he can never afford to own. William lives with his wife, 3 children, and his elderly mother in a single room on the 2nd floor of a subdivided house. The space, perhaps 12 feet by 8 feet, serves as bedroom, kitchen, workshop, and nursery, all at once. "Good morning, Master Gardener," William says respectfully, recognizing your guild status despite your modest dress. His deference reflects not just social hierarchy, but economic reality. You are among the property owners who control housing availability in his world. William pays 4 pence per week for his family's room, money that comes from his uncertain earnings doing repair work for guild merchants and wealthy households. 4 pence weekly might seem modest, but consider William's precarious economic position. During busy seasons, he might earn 18 pence per week, making his housing consume nearly a quarter of his income. During slow periods, common in London's feast or famine economy, his earnings might drop to 10 pence weekly, meaning housing consumes nearly half his money before he's purchased food, clothing, or fuel for heating and cooking. William's landlord is Master Edmund Thompson, a baker who owns 3 houses in this district and subdivides them for maximum rental income. Thompson purchased these properties for their proximity to his successful bakery, recognizing that housing London's working poor represents steady profit with minimal oversight. He charges 24 pence weekly for the entire subdivided house, 6 times what an individual room costs, but extracted from 6 separate families who lack alternatives. This rental arrangement creates a cascade of financial pressures that trap families like Williams in perpetual housing insecurity. During plague years or economic downturns, when work disappears and earnings plummet, families must choose between eating and shelter. Many opt to crowd multiple families into single rooms, creating conditions that would horrify even the most callous property owners. Last winter, you heard reports of 12 people sharing William's normal 6-person space when 2 related families couldn't make their rent elsewhere. The legal framework surrounding these rentals heavily favours landlords like Thompson. Poor tenants have virtually no rights beyond basic occupancy. They cannot modify their living space, cannot sublet to help cover costs, cannot refuse rent increases, and can be evicted with as little as 3 days' notice. Medieval London's legal system recognises property rights for owners while offering minimal protection for renters, particularly those lacking guild membership or legal standing. For families like Williams, housing represents not just shelter, but a constant source of anxiety that affects every aspect of their lives. Children grow up knowing that any financial crisis, a work injury, a seasonal economic downturn, a family illness, could result in homelessness within days. This insecurity prevents the accumulation of savings that might eventually enable property ownership, creating a cycle that perpetuates generational poverty. Yet, even within London's rental market, sharp hierarchies exist that reflect broader social stratifications. William's 4p weekly rent places him in the middle tier of London's rental economy. Below him, recent migrants from rural areas often crowd into basement rooms or converted storage spaces, paying 2 or 3p weekly for accommodations that barely qualify as human habitation. These spaces lack windows, proper drainage, or heating, and their occupants often succumb to diseases that better housing might prevent. Above William in the rental hierarchy, skilled craftsmen and prosperous artisans might rent entire floors or even small houses for 8 to 12p weekly. These families enjoy privacy, proper kitchens, and sometimes even small yards or gardens. Yet they remain renters, vulnerable to landlord whims and economic fluctuations, unable to accumulate the capital necessary for property ownership. The mathematics of rental dependency illustrate why property ownership remains beyond reach for families like William's. Even if William could save 2p weekly, an optimistic scenario, given his family's needs accumulating the £12 necessary to purchase a modest merchant house, would require over 15 years of perfect saving with no interruptions for illness, unemployment, or family crises. In reality, such sustained saving proves impossible for families living so close to subsistence levels. London's rental market also reflects the broader exclusion of the poor from economic opportunities that might enable advancement. Property ownership provides guild merchants like yourself with collateral for business loans, space for inventory storage, and venues for conducting profitable trade. Renters like William lack these advantages, limiting their economic activities to direct labour exchange with no opportunity for capital accumulation or business expansion. The psychological impact of permanent rental status weighs heavily on families like William's. Unlike your quiet pride in property ownership, William experiences daily reminders of his precarious position. Every weekly rent payment represents money that builds no equity, provides no security, and offers no foundation for his children's advancement. His housing costs remain pure consumption rather than investment, preventing the wealth accumulation that property ownership enables for the merchant class. Even William's skilled carpentry, offers limited opportunities for advancement within London's guild-controlled economy. While his expertise could theoretically enable independent contracting or even property construction, the guild system restricts such activities to established members who possess both capital and connections. William's exclusion from guild membership, itself largely determined by birth and existing property ownership, perpetuates his rental dependency despite his valuable skills. This housing inequality extends beyond individual families to affect entire neighbourhoods and communities. Areas dominated by rental properties develop different social dynamics, economic opportunities, and political influence compared to districts where property ownership prevails. William's neighbourhood lacks the collective political power that merchant districts wield through guild organisation, resulting in inferior infrastructure, reduced security, and limited access to economic opportunities. As you complete your walk through these crowded rental districts and return to the security of your owned property, the contrast couldn't be starker. Your morning routine includes checking on your investment opportunities and planning property acquisitions, while Williams begins with calculating whether his family can afford this week's rent. This fundamental difference between building wealth through property ownership and losing wealth through rental dependency illustrates the rigid economic boundaries that define medieval London's social hierarchy and determine each family's prospects for generations to come. Returning to your house, you find Brother Marcus waiting in your shop, his guild pin gleaming silver in the morning light filtering through your open shutters. Marcus belongs to the Drapers Guild, as you do, and his presence this early signals important business. In medieval London's property market, guild connections often determine not just what properties become available, but who learns about them first. A crucial advantage in a competitive market where the best opportunities disappear within hours of becoming known. Thomas, good morning. Marcus greets you with the familiar warmth reserved for guild brothers. I bring word from Master Aldrich about the property we discussed last month. His lowered voice and careful glance toward the street indicate this conversation requires privacy. Property transactions among guild members often involve sensitive negotiations, strategic partnerships, and information that could affect multiple businesses if revealed prematurely. Master Aldrich owns 6 properties in London's merchant district, accumulated over 20 years of successful wool trading. His portfolio represents the peak of middle-class property ownership, enough real estate to provide substantial rental income while maintaining his primary textile business. More importantly, Aldrich serves as an informal property broker within your guild, matching buyers with sellers while ensuring transactions remain within the brotherhood that protects merchant interests. The warehouse near Queenhithe has become available, Marcus continues, referring to the property that could transform your business operations. Master Aldrich will consider guild members only, but he expects serious inquiries by week's end. This artificial urgency isn't manipulation, it reflects the genuine competition among guild merchants for prime commercial properties that can generate both storage space and rental income. The Queenhithe warehouse represents exactly the type of property advancement your growing business requires. Located near London's primary docks, it offers direct access to wool shipments from Flanders and finished cloth exports to continental markets. The building includes ground floor storage capable of holding 50 barrels of raw wool, second-story space suitable for cloth finishing operations, and a third-floor loft that could house additional apprentices or serve as rental quarters for visiting merchants. More crucially, the warehouse includes what guild members call strategic advantages features that provide competitive benefits unavailable to merchants operating outside the guild system. The property sits within the area covered by guild-sponsored night watchmen, reducing theft risks that plague merchant storage facilities in unprotected districts. Its proximity to the Guildhall enables quick resolution of business disputes and rapid access to guild-controlled financing for major transactions. Aldrich mentioned the price? You ask. Though guild property transactions rarely focus solely on monetary considerations, medieval commercial real estate involves complex arrangements that might include partial ownership trades, shared facility access, apprentice training exchanges, or long-term business partnership agreements. These arrangements strengthen guild solidarity while maximising economic benefits for all participants. £8 for the building, plus assumption of his partnership in the adjacent stable facilities, Marcus explains. He's also willing to consider a gradual payment arrangement, £4 immediately, £4 over 2 years, with your current property serving as security. This financing offer illustrates another crucial guild advantage: access to credit arrangements unavailable to non-guild merchants or working-class buyers. Guild-sponsored property financing operates on mutual trust and shared business interests that extend far beyond individual transactions. When Master Aldrich offers you credit terms, he's investing in your continued success within the guild system. Your prosperity enhances the guild's collective wealth and political influence, while your failure would weaken the broader merchant community. This alignment of interests enables property transactions that would be impossible in purely commercial markets. There's additional consideration, Marcus adds, with a slight smile. Aldrich hopes you'll support his son's application for membership in the Goldsmiths Guild next year. Young Robert needs a sponsor with connections beyond textile trading. This request reveals how property transactions often involve social and political arrangements that strengthen inter-guild relationships and expand individual families' influence across London's merchant community. Property ownership within the guild system extends far beyond individual buildings to encompass participation in a complex network of mutual obligations, shared facilities, and collective security arrangements. Your ownership of the Bread Street property, for example, includes automatic membership in the Neighbourhood Merchants Association that maintains common areas, negotiates with city authorities, and provides collective bargaining power for dealing with suppliers and customers. These collective arrangements provide economic advantages that individual property owners outside the guild system cannot match. When fire threatens the district, guild-sponsored firefighting equipment and trained personnel respond faster than city authorities. When thieves target merchant properties, guild-coordinated security measures and shared information networks enable rapid response and recovery. When seasonal flooding affects dock facilities, guild members receive priority access to alternative storage and transportation arrangements. The guild system also provides property owners with access to specialised services that enhance property values and business opportunities. Guild-affiliated craftsmen offer priority service for property maintenance and improvements at preferential rates. Guild-sponsored legal services handle property disputes, contract negotiations, and inheritance arrangements with expertise specifically tailored to merchant needs. Guild-controlled financing enables property improvements, business expansions, and strategic acquisitions that would be impossible through individual resources. Your current property acquisition considerations illustrate these guild advantages in practical terms. The Queenhithe warehouse opportunity reached you through guild networks weeks before public announcement. The financing terms reflect guild member pricing rather than market rates. The transaction will include access to shared facilities and services that enhance the property's value beyond its purchase price. Most importantly, ownership will strengthen your position within guild politics and increase your influence over future property opportunities. This guild-controlled property system creates significant barriers for outsiders seeking to enter London's commercial real estate market. Foreign merchants face legal restrictions that limit their property ownership rights and exclude them from guild-sponsored financing. Skilled craftsmen lacking guild membership cannot access the credit arrangements that enable property purchases, regardless of their technical expertise or business acumen. Even wealthy individuals from rural areas often struggle to penetrate the urban property market without established guild connections and local political relationships. The exclusivity of guild-controlled property markets serves multiple functions that benefit existing members while restricting competition. By limiting property ownership to guild members, the system maintains price stability and prevents speculation that might drive costs beyond merchant affordability. By requiring guild membership for property financing, the system ensures that property owners share common business interests and social obligations. By concentrating property ownership within guild districts, the system creates geographic clusters of political and economic influence that enhance collective bargaining power. As you consider Marcus's information about the Queenhithe warehouse, you're simultaneously evaluating a specific property opportunity and contemplating your continued advancement within London's guild-controlled merchant hierarchy. The warehouse represents more than storage space. It's a stepping stone toward the senior guild positions that control major property decisions and determine access to the most lucrative commercial opportunities. Your decision about this property purchase will affect not just your immediate business operations, but your family's long-term position within London's merchant community and your children's prospects for continued advancement within the guild system that defines middle-class property ownership in medieval England. Later that morning, you find yourself standing before a narrow 3-story house on Watling Street, evaluating what could become your first pure rental property investment. Unlike your current home that combines residence and business, this building represents an opportunity to generate income solely through housing London's growing population of skilled workers, minor merchants, and prosperous artisans who can afford better accommodations than the crowded slums but lack the resources for property ownership. Master Geoffrey Whitmore, the current owner, stands beside you explaining the property's rental history and financial potential. Geoffrey owns 7 rental properties throughout London's merchant districts, having built his portfolio over 15 years through careful reinvestment of textile trading profits. His success illustrates the pathway from single property ownership to small-scale real estate empire that represents the pinnacle of middle-class property accumulation. The ground floor accommodates a family of 4 comfortably, Geoffrey explains, gesturing toward the well-maintained wooden interior. I've been collecting 8p weekly from Master Robert the Cordwainer and his household. The second floor brings 6p weekly from a young merchant couple, while the attic provides 4p from a senior apprentice who requires private quarters for his advanced training. These rental figures reveal the economics that make property investment attractive to guild merchants like yourself. The building generates 18p weekly, nearly £4 annually, from rents alone. After accounting for property maintenance, tax obligations, and occasional vacancy periods, the property should provide roughly £3 yearly profit. With a purchase price of £15, the investment offers a 20% annual return while preserving the underlying property value. More importantly, rental property ownership provides income stability that trading alone cannot match. Your cloth business faces seasonal fluctuations, supply disruptions from continental wars, and competition from other guild merchants that can dramatically affect annual earnings. Rental income, while not immune to economic downturns, provides steadier cash flow that can sustain your family during difficult trading periods, while funding continued business expansion. The property's interior reveals thoughtful modifications that maximize rental potential while maintaining appeal to quality tenants. Each floor includes separate cooking facilities centered around small but efficient hearths that share a common chimney system. Private garderobe facilities on each floor eliminate the shared chamber pot arrangements that characterize lower quality rental housing. Sturdy wooden partitions provide sound insulation between floors, ensuring tenant privacy that justifies premium rental rates. Jeffrey has also invested in security features that protect both his property and his tenants' possessions. Heavy wooden shutters on all windows can be barred from inside, while the main entrance includes both external locks and internal barricades. The building participates in the neighbourhood watch system that guild merchants collectively fund, providing regular patrols and rapid response to disturbances that might threaten property values or tenant safety. The location provides excellent tenant prospects, Jeffrey continues, leading you to examine the upper floors, close enough to guild halls and major markets for convenient business access, but removed from the noise and smells of the primary commercial districts. Families appreciate the balance between urban opportunities and residential comfort. This locational advantage reflects careful property selection strategies that successful guild merchants employ when building rental portfolios. Properties too close to major commercial areas suffer from noise, traffic, and security issues that deter quality long-term tenants. Properties too distant from economic centres fail to attract the skilled workers and minor merchants who can afford stable rental payments. The most successful rental properties occupy the middle ground that balances accessibility with residential appeal. The building's tenant composition illustrates another crucial aspect of successful rental property management: careful tenant selection that balances income potential with payment reliability. Master Robert the Cordwainer represents the ideal ground floor tenant, a guild member with steady income, established local connections, and social status that enhances the property's reputation. His 8p weekly payment reflects both his ability to pay premium rates and his value as a prestige tenant who attracts similar renters. The second floor merchant couple provides different advantages that complement Robert's tenancy. Their 6p payment, while lower than the ground floor rate, comes from dual incomes that provide excellent payment security. Young merchants typically maintain properties well, require minimal landlord intervention, and often become property buyers themselves within several years, creating opportunities for future property sales within your professional network. The attic apprentice, paying 4p weekly, represents the entry-level rental market that provides steady income while requiring minimal property investment. Senior apprentices need private quarters that demonstrate their advancing status but lack resources for expensive accommodations. They typically maintain properties carefully, cause few disturbances, and often recommend the property to fellow apprentices when they advance to independent merchant status. Tenant turnover, you ask? Recognizing that frequent changes in occupancy can dramatically affect rental profitability through lost income during vacancy periods and costs associated with finding replacement tenants. Minimal, Jeffrey replies with evident satisfaction. Master Robert has occupied the ground floor for 3 years and recently renewed his arrangement for another 2-year term. The merchant couple arrived 18 months ago and speak of purchasing their own property within 5 years. Even the apprentice tenancies typically last 12 to 18 months to long enough to justify the initial tenant screening efforts. This tenant stability reflects both careful initial selection and ongoing property management that encourages long-term occupancy. Geoffrey maintains properties in excellent condition, responds quickly to tenant concerns, and provides small improvements, better locks, window repairs, fireplace maintenance that demonstrate his commitment to tenant satisfaction. These investments, while reducing short-term profits, create tenant loyalty that minimizes vacancy periods and reduces marketing costs for replacement renters. The financial calculations for this property purchase extend beyond simple rental income to encompass broader strategic considerations for your growing business empire. Rental property ownership provides collateral for business loans that could finance larger commercial ventures or additional property acquisitions. The steady cash flow enables more aggressive trading strategies by providing financial backup during temporary business setbacks. Property ownership also enhances your status within guild politics, demonstrating the success that qualifies you for leadership positions with greater influence over commercial policies. Geoffrey's asking price of £15 reflects current market conditions that favour sellers in London's competitive property environment. Urban population growth, driven by rural migrants seeking economic opportunities, consistently exceeds housing construction rates. Guild control over prime properties limits supply while maintaining quality standards that support property values. The combination creates sellers' market conditions that enable property owners to command premium prices while maintaining selectivity about buyers. "I'll need several days to arrange financing," you tell Geoffrey, though your mind has already begun calculating the loan arrangements necessary to complete this purchase. Your current property provides collateral for borrowing perhaps £8, while your business assets could secure additional credit. The transaction will require careful coordination with guild financial networks and possible partnership arrangements with other merchants seeking similar investment opportunities. As you prepare to leave this potential investment property, you're already envisioning how its ownership would transform your economic position from successful merchant to diversified investor with multiple income streams and enhanced financial security for your family's continued advancement within London's competitive merchant society. Your afternoon takes an unexpected turn when a messenger in fine livery arrives at your shop, bearing the seal of Sir Edmund de Grey, one of London's most influential noble landowners. The parchment he delivers requests your presence at Sir Edmund's manor house near the Tower to discuss a substantial cloth order for his eldest daughter's wedding celebration. Such invitations provide rare glimpses into the property world of England's landed nobility, a realm that operates by entirely different rules from the guild-controlled urban markets you know. Walking through London's streets toward Sir Edmund's property, you observe the stark architectural differences that announce noble ownership, where guild merchant houses cluster tightly along narrow streets, maximising commercial efficiency. Noble properties sprawl behind high stone walls that isolate their owners from the urban commerce that enables such luxury. Sir Edmund's London residence occupies nearly an entire city block, its gardens and courtyards consuming space that could house 50 merchant families. The manor house itself represents wealth accumulation on a scale that dwarfs even the most successful guild merchants' achievements. Construction required skilled stonemasons working for multiple years, imported timber from royal forests, and decorative elements that cost more than your entire property portfolio. Yet this impressive urban residence represents merely Sir Edmund's temporary London accommodation. His true wealth lies in rural estates spanning multiple counties and hundreds of agricultural families. Sir Edmund receives you in a great hall that could contain your entire house several times over. Tapestries depicting his family's military exploits cover stone walls, while carved wooden screens separate the main hall from private chambers. The floor covered in fresh rushes mixed with herbs, provides comfort that requires daily maintenance by numerous servants. Everything about the space announces wealth, power, and permanence that extends far beyond commercial success. Master Gardener, Sir Edmund greets you with the courteous but distant manner nobles employ with useful merchants. I understand you provide exceptional cloth for important occasions. His accent carries the refined pronunciation that distinguishes aristocratic speech from guild merchant dialects, a reminder of the educational advantages that accompany noble birth and landed wealth. As you discuss fabric options for his daughter's wedding, Sir Edmund's casual comments reveal the vast scope of noble property ownership that renders your merchant investments microscopic by comparison. His primary estate in Yorkshire encompasses 12 villages, 2 market towns, and agricultural lands worked by more than 300 peasant families. Each family provides both rent payments and labour obligations that generate income streams unavailable to urban property owners. The wool for your finest fabrics likely comes from my estates, Sir Edmund observes, stroking a bolt of Flemish cloth. My shepherds tend flocks of several thousand sheep across the Yorkshire Dales. We provide raw wool to London merchants, who transform it into the finished goods I purchase for family celebrations. This circular economy illustrates how noble land ownership extends far beyond residential property to encompass entire economic systems. The conversation reveals additional layers of noble property ownership that operate beyond purely economic considerations. Sir Edmund holds his lands directly from the Crown through grants that date back generations, creating legal relationships that involve military service, court attendance, and political obligations unknown to merchant property owners. His estates aren't just sources of income, they're foundations of political power that enable influence over royal policies, judicial decisions, and territorial disputes. Managing such extensive properties requires constant attention, Sir Edmund continues, apparently enjoying the opportunity to educate a successful merchant about aristocratic responsibilities. Each estate requires resident stewards, agricultural oversight, tenant relations, and coordination with royal administrative demands. Unlike your urban properties that generate straightforward rental income, rural estates involve complex relationships with hundreds of families whose welfare directly affects agricultural productivity. This management complexity extends to legal obligations that bind noble property owners to feudal duties unknown in the urban commercial world. Sir Edmund owes the Crown 40 days of military service annually, either personally or through hired replacements. His estates must provide grain reserves for royal armies, accommodation for travelling royal officials, and financial contributions for major military campaigns. These obligations, while prestigious, represent costs that reduce the net income from property ownership. The noble property system also includes inheritance laws that preserve estate integrity across generations while limiting individual freedom to dispose of property. Sir Edmund cannot simply sell portions of his estate to raise cash, as you might with rental properties. The lands pass to his eldest son through primogeniture, ensuring estate unity but restricting his ability to provide for younger children or respond to financial emergencies through property sales. My younger sons face challenges unknown to merchant families, Sir Edmund explains. When you inquire about his large household, they inherit prestigious birth but limited property. Military service, church careers, or advantageous marriages provide their primary advancement opportunities. Unlike guild merchants who can establish multiple sons in independent businesses, noble families concentrate wealth in single heirs, while other children depend on family connections for advancement. The conversation reveals how noble property ownership, while vastly larger in scale than merchant holdings, operates within constraints that limit flexibility and response to changing economic conditions. Sir Edmund's wealth depends entirely on agricultural productivity and peasant rent payments that can fluctuate dramatically based on weather, disease, and political disruptions. Unlike your diversified urban investments that can adapt to market changes, rural estates lock families into single economic strategies across generations. Noble property also carries social obligations that consume substantial resources without generating economic returns. Sir Edmund maintains a household of 30 servants, not from necessity, but from social expectations that define aristocratic status. His great hall hosts elaborate feasts for fellow nobles, political allies, and royal officials, expenses that demonstrate power but reduce available income for productive investments. His children receive extensive education in languages, music, and courtly behaviour that prepare them for social advancement, but provide limited practical economic skills. The discussion of his daughter's wedding preparations illustrates these social expenditures in practical terms. The celebration will cost nearly £50 more than your total property investments for a single event lasting 3 days. The expense includes accommodation for hundreds of guests, elaborate food service, musical entertainment, and gift exchanges that strengthen political alliances while depleting family treasuries. Such occasions invest in political relationships that provide long-term benefits, Sir Edmund explains, recognizing your surprise at the expense. Today's wedding guests include royal court officials, neighbouring landowners, and powerful merchants whose future cooperation could affect my family's interests for generations. The celebration demonstrates our family's continued prosperity and political reliability to those who influence royal favour and commercial opportunities. As your meeting concludes, and you prepare to return to your modest merchant district, the contrast between noble and merchant property ownership couldn't be more striking. Sir Edmund commands vast rural empires that dwarf your urban investments. Yet his wealth comes with political obligations, social constraints, and management complexities that limit personal freedom and economic flexibility. Your smaller scale merchant properties provide greater autonomy, liquid wealth, and adaptation opportunities that enable rapid response to changing market conditions. The encounter leaves you with renewed appreciation for your position within London's merchant hierarchy, wealthy enough to enjoy security and opportunity, yet free from the feudal obligations that burden even the most powerful noble landowners in medieval England's complex property system. Returning from Sir Edmund's manor to your own more modest but increasingly valuable property empire, you find Margaret waiting with news that will test your skills as a property investor. Master Robert the Cordwainer, your reliable ground floor tenant who has been paying 8p weekly for 3 years, approaches the end of his lease term and wishes to discuss renewal terms. More pressingly, the young merchant couple on the second floor has announced their intention to purchase their own property and will vacate within 6 weeks. This situation, while common in London's dynamic rental market, requires careful management to maintain your property's profitability and reputation. Tenant turnover costs money through lost rental income during vacancy periods, expenses for cleaning and minor repairs, and time invested in screening and selecting replacement renters. More importantly, poor tenant choices can damage property values, create neighbourhood conflicts, and generate ongoing management problems that consume both profits and peace of mind. Margaret has already begun the tenant replacement process, understanding from her management of your household accounts how crucial steady rental income has become to your family's expanding economic ambitions. 3 inquiries arrived yesterday, she reports, spreading parchment letters across your counting table. A goldsmith's apprentice completing his final year seeks the second-floor accommodation. A widow with 2 young children needs housing after her husband's death left her with limited means. And Master William's nephew, recently arrived from Norwich, requires temporary lodging while establishing his leather-working business. Each potential tenant represents different advantages and risks that require careful evaluation beyond simple ability to pay weekly rent. The goldsmith's apprentice offers excellent payment security through his established guild connections and approaching advancement to independent merchant status. However, young men often maintain irregular hours, entertain friends frequently, and may lack the domestic stability that preserves property conditions. His eventual advancement might also mean sudden departure when he achieves the income level necessary for property ownership. The widow presents a more complex evaluation challenge. Her immediate financial situation remains unclear. Did her husband leave sufficient resources to ensure consistent rent payments, or will she struggle with ongoing expenses? Widows often provide excellent property maintenance through domestic skills and stable residence patterns, but economic vulnerability could create payment difficulties that force difficult eviction decisions. Her children add another variable. Well-behaved young people enhance property reputation, while undisciplined youth can create noise complaints and property damage. Master William's nephew offers family connections that provide both advantages and complications. Guild relationships ensure his payment reliability and create informal guarantees through William's own reputation. However, family connections can complicate landlord-tenant relationships if disputes arise over property conditions, rent increases, or lease violations. Additionally, his temporary housing needs suggest eventual departure that will require another tenant search within a relatively short period. What specific information have you gathered about each candidate? You ask Margaret, knowing that successful property management depends on thorough tenant screening rather than superficial impressions. Medieval London lacks the formal credit reporting systems that might simplify such decisions, requiring landlords to investigate potential tenants through guild networks, neighbourhood references, and careful personal interviews. The goldsmith's apprentice provided references from his master and 2 guild brothers who vouch for his character and payment reliability, Margaret reports. He offers to pay the full 6p weekly rate and can provide a 6-month advance payment to demonstrate financial stability. However, his master mentioned potential placement in a York goldsmith shop within the next 2 years. This information reveals both the advantages and limitations of guild-connected tenants. Guild references provide reliable character assessments and ensure payment capability through established business relationships. Advance payments offer immediate cash flow benefits and demonstrate tenant commitment to property maintenance. However, guild members' career advancement often necessitates geographic mobility that can terminate tenancies unexpectedly. The widow, Mistress Eleanor, operates a small embroidery business from her previous residence, Margaret continues. She provides excellent references from neighbours and customers, including Alderman Fraser's wife, who praises her needlework skills. She requests reduced rent of 5p weekly, given her circumstances, but offers to maintain property gardens and assist with general building upkeep. This proposal illustrates the complex negotiations that characterise medieval rental markets. Reduced rent payments lower immediate income, but could reduce property maintenance costs through tenant labour contributions. Embroidery work provides steady income, less vulnerable to seasonal fluctuations than many occupations. but demands quiet working conditions that could conflict with other tenants' activities. Widow tenants often provide stability and property care that justify reduced rental rates through decreased management requirements. Master William's nephew, Thomas the leatherworker, can pay the full 6p rate and offers an additional silver penny monthly for exclusive use of the small workshop space in the rear courtyard. Margaret concludes, William personally guarantees his character and payment reliability, but mentions Thomas' plans to establish his own shop within 18 months if his London business succeeds. The workshop rental edition provides attractive income enhancement while supporting a fellow artisan's business development. Leatherworking requires minimal space, but generates odours that could disturb other tenants or neighbourhood residents. Family guarantees offer excellent payment security, but could create social complications if business relationships become strained. Beyond individual tenant characteristics, you must consider how different combinations of renters might affect overall property dynamics and neighbourhood reputation. The goldsmith apprentice and leatherworker represent similar demographic groups whose schedules and social activities might complement each other effectively. However, both young men could create noise or entertainment issues that disturb the Cordwainer family below. Alternatively, the widow might provide domestic stability that balances younger tenants' energy while contributing property maintenance that reduces your ongoing expenses. Her embroidery business could attract customers who appreciate the building's reputation for quality resident businesses. However, economic uncertainty surrounding widow tenants requires careful evaluation of payment sustainability. Property location considerations also influence tenant selection decisions. Your Watling Street building sits in a respectable merchant district, where tenant composition affects both property values and neighbourhood relationships. Selecting tenants whose activities and social status complement surrounding properties maintains the area's commercial appeal while ensuring continued access to quality replacement tenants when future vacancies occur. The screening process extends beyond financial capability to encompass character assessment, business reputation, and long-term compatibility with your property management objectives. Medieval London's tight-knit guild communities ensure that tenant behaviour reflects on property owners' reputations, influencing future business opportunities and social relationships within merchant networks. After reviewing the candidates with Margaret, you decide to interview each potential tenant personally, understanding that successful property investment requires active management rather than passive income collection. The goldsmith apprentice will receive first consideration for his payment security and guild connections, but contingent on satisfactory character assessment and neighbourhood compatibility. The widow offers an attractive alternative if the apprentice proves unsuitable, while the leatherworker represents a backup option with family guarantee advantages. Tomorrow's tenant interviews will determine not just immediate rental income, but the long-term success of your property investment strategy and your growing reputation as a discerning landlord within London's competitive merchant community. Your decisions will affect both your family's economic security and your standing within the guild networks that define middle-class property ownership in medieval England. The following morning brings an unexpected test of your property ownership rights when you discover a disturbing situation that illustrates the stark differences between medieval England's treatment of property owners versus those without legal standing. Master Geoffrey, from whom you're considering purchasing the Watling Street rental property, arrives at your door with urgent news about a legal dispute that could affect your potential investment. Thomas, we have a situation that requires immediate attention, Geoffrey announces, his usually calm demeanour showing signs of stress. The widow who rents the ground floor of my Candlewick Street property claims her late husband had an agreement to purchase the building. She's approached the sheriff's court with documents that could challenge my ownership rights. This dispute reveals the complex legal landscape surrounding medieval property ownership and the crucial importance of proper documentation in protecting investment security. In England's evolving legal system, property rights depend on written evidence, witness testimony, and recognition by local authorities' protections, available primarily to guild members and established merchants with social standing and legal knowledge. You accompany Geoffrey to examine the disputed documents, understanding that property ownership without clear legal title provides no security regardless of purchase price or good intentions. The widow, Mistress Alice, presents parchment papers that she claims record her husband's agreement to purchase Geoffrey's property through gradual payments over 5 years. The documents appear legitimate, but lack the official seals and guild witness signatures that would make them legally binding under London's property laws. Master Geoffrey, Mistress Alice pleads, my husband worked for 15 years as your tenant, improving the property with his own hands and making extra payments toward eventual ownership. These papers record his dream of providing security for our children. Her emotional appeal, while moving, cannot overcome the legal requirements that protect property owners from fraudulent claims and ensure market stability within London's merchant community. The legal framework governing this dispute heavily favours established property owners like Geoffrey over tenants or their surviving families. Medieval property law recognises written contracts sealed by guild officials and witnessed by respectable merchants, but informal agreements between landlords and tenants carry limited legal weight. This system protects property owners from spurious claims, while ensuring that legitimate transactions receive proper documentation and community recognition. Geoffrey's position illustrates the legal advantages that guild membership and property ownership provide in medieval England's courts. As an established merchant with documented property ownership, guild connections, and social standing, Geoffrey commands respect from legal authorities who understand that protecting established property rights maintains economic stability and encourages continued investment. His word carries greater weight than that of a widow whose husband lacked guild membership or official business recognition. The sheriff's clerk examined the documents yesterday, Geoffrey explains, as you review the disputed papers. He found no evidence of proper witnessing, no guild seals, and no record of the substantial payments that would indicate serious purchase intentions. The case appears straightforward, but defending my ownership rights still requires time, expense, and formal legal proceedings. This legal process reveals how property ownership provides access to justice systems and legal protections unavailable to medieval England's working classes. Geoffrey can afford legal representation, has guild brothers willing to testify about his character and business practices, and possesses documented proof of his original property purchase. Mistress Alice lacks financial resources for extended legal battles, has no guild connections to provide character witnesses, and cannot produce evidence that meets legal standards for property transfer. The dispute also demonstrates how property ownership creates different legal categories of medieval residents. Property owners enjoy full legal rights, court access, and presumption of honesty in business disputes. Guild members without property still receive significant legal protections through collective organisation and mutual support systems. However, working-class residents, like Mistress Alice's late husband, operate outside formal legal structures that could protect their interests or provide recourse when disputes arise. Medieval property law evolved to encourage investment and ownership by providing strong protections for documented property rights while limiting claims that could destabilize the emerging commercial economy. This system benefits guild merchants like yourself by ensuring that property purchases provide genuine security and legal standing, but excludes working-class families from ownership opportunities and legal protections that could improve their economic circumstances. What evidence would Mistress Alice need to support her claim, you ask Geoffrey, curious about the legal standards that govern property disputes and their implications for your own investment security. Substantial documentation, witnessed by at least 3 guild members, evidence of significant payments recorded in official ledgers, and testimony from respected merchants who observed the alleged purchase agreement, Geoffrey replies, medieval property law requires clear evidence to prevent fraudulent claims that could undermine legitimate ownership rights. These requirements effectively limit property ownership challenges to disputes between established merchants or guild members who possess necessary documentation, social connections, and legal knowledge. Working-class families like Mistress Alice's cannot meet evidentiary standards designed to protect merchant investments, ensuring that property ownership remains concentrated within guild communities while providing security for legitimate transactions. The legal proceedings also reveal how property disputes affect broader community relationships and economic opportunities. Geoffrey's reputation within guild circles depends partially on his handling of this situation. Excessive harshness toward a widow might damage his social standing, while inadequate defence of his property rights could encourage similar challenges from other tenants or their families. I've offered Mistress Alice a generous settlement, Geoffrey continues. Extended tenancy at reduced rates, assistance finding alternative housing, and a small payment recognising her husband's property improvements. This approach demonstrates compassion while maintaining clear legal precedent about property ownership requirements. This settlement strategy illustrates how successful property owners balance legal rights with social responsibilities in medieval England's interconnected merchant communities. Excessive litigation creates expenses and social friction that damage business relationships, while insufficient defence of property rights encourages challenges that could affect other property owners' security. The dispute's resolution provides valuable lessons about the legal frameworks that protect your growing property investments, while highlighting the exclusive nature of medieval England's property ownership systems. Your current properties enjoy strong legal protection through proper documentation, guild witness procedures, and established precedents that favour merchant property rights over tenant claims. However, the case also demonstrates your obligations as a property owner to maintain clear documentation, handle tenant relationships with appropriate care, and understand the legal procedures that protect ownership rights in England's evolving commercial economy. Property ownership provides significant legal advantages and economic opportunities, but requires active management and ongoing attention to legal requirements that ensure continued security. As Geoffrey's dispute moves toward resolution in his favour, you gain confidence about medieval property law's protection of legitimate ownership, while recognising the exclusive nature of legal systems that benefit guild merchants while excluding working-class families from property, ownership opportunities, and legal recourse in medieval England's hierarchical society. 3 weeks later, you're awakened before dawn by the terrifying sound every medieval property owner dreads most: the urgent clanging of church bells, signalling fire somewhere in London's densely packed wooden districts. Margaret jolts awake beside you, immediately understanding the implications as orange light flickers through your shuttered windows. Fire represents the greatest threat to urban property ownership, capable of destroying years of careful investment within hours while spreading rapidly through neighbourhoods where buildings share walls, roof lines, and combustible construction materials. Where is it? Margaret whispers, though you're both already reaching for clothing and shoes. Property owners throughout medieval London maintain emergency preparations for fire response, understanding that quick action can mean the difference between containment and catastrophic loss. Your guild membership includes obligations to assist fellow merchants during fire emergencies, while practical self-interest demands immediate assessment of threats to your own properties. Racing outside, you join neighbours gathering in Bread Street to locate the fire source and organise response efforts. The orange glow appears to originate near Cheapside, perhaps 6 streets away, close enough to threaten wind-carried sparks and spreading flames, but not immediately endangering your property. However, London's fires often jump unpredictably across districts through flying embers, wooden rooflines, and shared interior walls that allow flames to travel between seemingly separate buildings. Master Edmund from the Grocers Guild arrives with leather fire buckets and wet cloth, standard equipment that guild regulations require all property-owning members to maintain. The fire started in a baker's shop on Wood Street, he reports breathlessly, already spread to 3 adjoining houses and threatens the entire block. They're calling for all able men to form bucket brigades from the river. This fire emergency reveals the collective responsibility system that medieval property owners employ to protect their investments against urban catastrophes. Guild members coordinate firefighting efforts, not from altruism, but from practical understanding that neighbourhood fires threaten everyone's property values and business continuity. Your obligation to assist reflects both community solidarity and enlightened self-interest in maintaining district safety. You grab your own firefighting equipment, leather buckets, wet woolen blankets, and iron hooks designed for pulling down burning thatch, and join the stream of men heading toward the Thames for water and toward the fire for battle. Medieval firefighting relies entirely on human coordination and simple tools, requiring massive community effort to achieve results that might save property and lives. The scene near Wood Street reveals fire's devastating impact on medieval urban property. 3 houses burn completely, their wooden frameworks creating towering infernos that generate intense heat and shower surrounding buildings with burning debris. The baker's family stands among their salvaged possessions. A few pieces of furniture, some clothing, cooking pots, representing their total remaining wealth after losing both home and business to flames that consumed everything within minutes. Property destruction extends beyond immediate fire damage to encompass broader economic losses that ripple through merchant communities. The baker loses not just his building, but his expensive ovens, stored grain supplies, and customer relationships built over decades. His neighbours face smoke and water damage that requires costly repairs, temporary business disruptions that reduce income, and property value decreases that affect their overall wealth. "Form lines from the river!" shouts the sheriff's bailiff, attempting to coordinate the 100 men, now gathering with buckets and equipment. Medieval firefighting depends on bucket brigades that pass water from Thames-side sources to burning buildings, requiring sustained human coordination that can continue for hours. Property owners like yourself provide leadership and organisation that transforms panicked crowds into effective firefighting forces. The water brigade work proves exhausting and dangerous, requiring men to approach burning buildings closely enough to throw water effectively while avoiding falling timbers and intense heat that can cause severe injuries. You pass leather buckets filled with Thames water for 3 hours, until the combined efforts of nearly 200 volunteers finally contain the fire's spread and extinguish the remaining flames. Dawn reveals the fire's full cost to London's merchant community. 6 houses destroyed completely, 8 others damaged severely enough to require major reconstruction. and dozens more suffering smoke or water damage that demands immediate repair. The total property loss exceeds £100, equivalent to the purchase price of 8 modest merchant houses, while business disruptions and repair costs will continue affecting the neighbourhood for months. This could have been any of us, Master Edmund observes, as you survey the smoking ruins that yesterday housed thriving merchant families. His comment reflects the constant vulnerability that medieval property owners face from urban catastrophes beyond individual control. Fire, plague, building collapse, and civil unrest represent ongoing threats that can destroy careful investment and family security with little warning. The fire's aftermath also demonstrates the insurance mechanisms that medieval guild communities develop to survive such catastrophes. Guild members contribute money and labour to help affected families rebuild homes and businesses, understanding that community resilience protects everyone's long-term interests. The baker will receive donated materials, volunteer construction labour, and temporary business space that enable recovery impossible for non-guild families facing similar losses. Your own property assessment reveals the fire's broader impact beyond immediate destruction. Smoke damage requires cleaning and repainting that will cost several shillings, while water thrown on neighbouring buildings created dampness problems that could lead to structural damage if not addressed quickly. Even properties that escaped direct fire contact face decreased rental appeal and potential tenant departures that reduce income during recovery periods. More significantly, the fire demonstrates how urban catastrophes affect property investment decisions and risk management strategies. Properties in densely built areas offer higher rental income and better business locations, but face greater fire risks that could eliminate investments entirely. Diversifying property holdings across different neighbourhoods reduces catastrophic loss risks while limiting potential returns from premium locations. The week following the fire brings additional challenges that illustrate property ownership's ongoing vulnerabilities in medieval urban environments. 2 of your rental tenants express concerns about continued residence in areas prone to fire danger, while property insurance costs increase as guild mutual aid systems strain to cover reconstruction expenses. Urban property ownership provides substantial benefits, but requires constant attention to risk management and community relationships that ensure survival during periodic catastrophes. As you inspect your properties for fire-related damage and consider risk management improvements, the experience reinforces both the rewards and vulnerabilities of medieval urban property investment. While property ownership provides wealth accumulation and social advancement opportunities unavailable to working-class families, it also creates exposure to catastrophic losses that can destroy years of careful financial planning within hours of urban emergency. The fire serves as a sobering reminder that medieval property ownership, despite its substantial advantages over rental dependency, operates within an urban environment where community cooperation, risk management, and mutual support systems determine long-term success as much as individual investment decisions and business acumen. 6 months after the Wood Street fire, you find yourself contemplating longer-term questions about property ownership that extend far beyond immediate investment returns. Your eldest son, William, now 15, approaches the age where apprenticeship placement will determine his future career trajectory and social standing. More importantly, your growing property portfolio raises complex questions about inheritance, family advancement, and the generational transfer of wealth that defines medieval England's emerging merchant dynasties. Margaret joins you in the upper chamber of your house, where evening candlelight illuminates the wooden chest containing your most precious possessions: property deeds, guild membership documents, business contracts, and silver coins that represent your family's accumulated wealth. These physical documents embody not just current prosperity, but your children's future opportunities and your family's potential advancement within London's merchant hierarchy. William shows excellent aptitude for the cloth trade, Margaret observes, referring to your son's increasing involvement in daily business operations. Master Geoffrey has offered to consider him for advanced apprenticeship if he demonstrates continued progress over the coming year. This apprenticeship opportunity represents crucial career development that could establish William as a successful merchant within your existing guild networks. However, your property investments create additional options for William's future that were unavailable to your own generation. Unlike your father, who could offer only basic agricultural skills and village connections, your property portfolio provides collateral for financing independent business ventures, rental income that could support advanced education, and social connections that open opportunities throughout London's merchant community. The Queen Hythe warehouse investment has exceeded expectations, you note, reviewing the account ledgers that track your property-related income. Between storage rental fees and our wool trading profits, that property alone generates enough income to fund William's complete merchant education and initial business capitalization. This financial security enables family advancement strategies impossible for working-class families whose children must begin earning wages immediately upon reaching working age. The warehouse investment exemplifies how property ownership creates wealth accumulation opportunities that extend across generations. Your initial £8 investment now generates nearly £4 annually, while appreciating in value as London's commercial activity expands. Over William's lifetime, that single property could provide the foundation for much larger business ventures or additional property acquisitions that establish your family among London's merchant elite. Yet property inheritance in medieval England involves legal complexities that require careful planning to ensure successful wealth transfer. Under English common law, your properties would typically pass to William as your eldest son, while younger children receive smaller bequests from your business assets and accumulated cash. This system preserves property holdings' integrity while potentially creating tensions between siblings with different inheritance prospects. Our younger children will need consideration as well, Margaret reminds you, expressing concerns that occupy many medieval merchant families with multiple children and limited inheritance flexibility. Your daughter Catherine, now 12, shows intelligence and domestic skills that could enable an advantageous marriage alliance, but requires a substantial dowry that demonstrates your family's prosperity and social standing. Medieval marriage arrangements function as crucial business partnerships that can dramatically expand family property holdings and commercial opportunities. Catherine's marriage dowry might include rental property ownership, business partnership shares, or cash settlements that attract suitors from established merchant families. Strategic marriage alliances enable property consolidation, business expansion, and social advancement that benefit multiple generations. Your younger son Robert, currently 10 years old, presents different inheritance challenges that require creative solutions within medieval England's primogeniture system. While William inherits primary property holdings and business leadership, Robert needs career opportunities that match his family's social status while providing economic independence. Guild apprenticeships, church positions, or junior partnerships in family business ventures offer potential paths that maintain family unity while ensuring individual advancement. Master Aldrich mentioned opportunities for younger sons in the expanding wool trade with Flemish markets. You tell Margaret, referring to conversations about international business ventures that could provide Robert with independent career prospects. Established merchants increasingly seek trusted partners for overseas operations that require family-level reliability and substantial initial investments. These international trade opportunities illustrate how property wealth enables business diversification and geographic expansion impossible for families dependent solely on local commerce. Your property investments provide collateral for international trading ventures, stable income during business development periods, and social connections that facilitate partnerships with foreign merchants and distant markets. Property inheritance planning also involves considerations about guild membership, business continuity, and social position maintenance that affect multiple generations. William's inheritance includes not just physical properties, but guild relationships, customer connections, and commercial reputation that represent intangible assets requiring careful management and continued development. The guild regulations require property owners to maintain active membership and contribute to community obligations, you observe, reviewing guild documents that specify inheritance requirements and member responsibilities. William must demonstrate business competence and social reliability that satisfy guild leadership before assuming full property ownership and merchant status. These guild inheritance requirements ensure that property ownership remains concentrated among families capable of maintaining business standards, community contributions, and social obligations that define medieval merchant communities. Your property wealth provides William with inheritance advantages, but success requires personal development and community acceptance that cannot be simply purchased or automatically transferred. Marriage alliances also affect property inheritance through spousal rights, family combinations, and potential legal complications that influence long-term family strategy. Margaret's contributions to family business management and property development provide her with legal claims to family assets that must be considered in inheritance planning, while future marriages by your children could create property claims by their spouses' families. Catherine's marriage negotiations will require careful attention to property settlements and family alliance benefits. Margaret notes, understanding how medieval marriage contracts involve detailed property arrangements that affect multiple families and generations. The right alliance could provide William with valuable business partnerships while ensuring Catherine's economic security. Your evening discussions about family inheritance and property legacy reveal the complex intergenerational planning that medieval property ownership requires. Unlike working-class families whose children inherit little beyond basic survival skills, your property investments create opportunities and obligations that affect your family's trajectory for decades. William's success or failure as property manager and business leader will determine whether your investments provide foundation for continued advancement or become liabilities that drain family resources. Property ownership also creates family obligations that extend beyond immediate children to include broader kinship networks and community relationships. Your success affects your siblings' opportunities, influences cousin relationships, and establishes family reputation that impacts future generations' marriage prospects and business opportunities. As you secure the evening's documents and prepare for sleep, the weight of property ownership extends beyond current management responsibilities to encompass legacy planning that will determine your family's position within medieval England's social hierarchy for generations. Your property investments represent not just personal achievement, but foundations for family advancement that require careful stewardship and strategic development to ensure continued prosperity and social elevation. The following spring brings an opportunity that will transform your understanding of how property ownership serves as crucial infrastructure for international commerce in medieval England. Master Giovanni Benedetto, a Venetian merchant visiting London to establish permanent trading connections, approaches you through guild networks seeking both temporary accommodation and long-term business partnerships that could revolutionize your cloth trading operations. Giovanni's arrival illustrates how medieval property ownership creates opportunities for international business development unavailable to merchants without substantial real estate holdings. His need for secure accommodation, storage facilities, and local business connections requires partnerships with established property owners who can provide comprehensive support for complex international trading ventures. Master Gardener, Giovanni greets you in the careful English he's learned during previous London visits. I seek arrangements with a merchant of reputation who commands property suitable for international commerce. His formal approach reflects the diplomatic protocols that govern medieval international trade relationships, where business partnerships often determined success or failure for ventures spanning multiple countries and cultures. Giovanni represents the sophisticated Italian trading networks that dominate Mediterranean commerce and seek expansion into Northern European markets through strategic alliances with local merchants. His personal wealth exceeds that of most London merchants, but foreign status limits his property ownership rights and requires partnerships with English guild members who possess legal standing and community connections. My business requires secure storage for luxury goods, silk fabrics from Constantinople, spices from Alexandria, wine from Burgundy commodities that demand protection from theft, moisture, and temperature fluctuations, Giovanni explains, examining your warehouse facilities near Queenhithe. Your property location provides excellent access to Thames shipping while offering security measures appropriate for valuable international merchandise. This storage arrangement would transform your warehouse from simple domestic cloth storage to international trading depot, generating rental income while providing access to luxury goods markets previously beyond your reach. However, international trade involves risks and complexities that require careful evaluation of legal, financial, and political considerations affecting both property owners and foreign business partners. Giovanni's business model illustrates how medieval international commerce depends on property-based infrastructure that enables complex transactions spanning multiple countries and currencies. His London operations require not just storage space, but facilities for displaying merchandise to wealthy customers, accommodating visiting foreign merchants, and conducting financial transactions that involve currency exchange and credit arrangements across international boundaries. The arrangement I propose provides mutual benefits, Giovanni continues, outlining partnership terms that would revolutionize your business operations. I require 2 years exclusive use of your warehouse upper floor, with shared access to loading facilities and security arrangements. In exchange, you receive substantial rent payments, plus preferential access to luxury fabrics that command premium prices in London's wealthy households. This proposal offers rental income nearly 3 times your current warehouse earnings, while providing access to silk, fine wool, and exotic fabrics that could establish your shop among London's premier textile retailers. However, international trade partnerships also create vulnerabilities through foreign exchange risks, political complications, and legal uncertainties that could affect both property security and business relationships. The negotiation process reveals how property ownership provides leverage in international business arrangements that enable medieval merchants to negotiate favourable terms with wealthy foreign partners. Your ownership of suitable facilities creates bargaining power that allows you to demand significant rent payments, beneficial business terms, and preferential access to luxury goods markets. What guarantees can you provide for rent payment security and property protection, you ask Giovanni. Understanding that international partnerships require careful risk management and legal protections. Medieval international commerce operates without modern banking systems or standardized legal frameworks, requiring personal agreements and trust relationships that depend on reputation and mutual benefit. I offer 6 months' rent in advance, plus guarantee through the Medici banking house in Florence for continued payments throughout our partnership term, Giovanni replies, producing documents bearing official seals that demonstrate his financial backing and international business credibility. Additionally, I provide insurance arrangements through Venetian merchant guilds that protect your property against damage from international trading activities. These financial guarantees exceed anything available from domestic tenants, while providing access to international banking and insurance systems that could enhance your future business opportunities. The Medici banking connection alone offers potential for future credit arrangements, currency exchange services, and commercial relationships that extend far beyond the immediate warehouse rental arrangement. The partnership also requires modifications to your warehouse property that demonstrate how international commerce drives urban property development in medieval England. Giovanni's needs demand improved security systems, climate control measures, and specialized storage arrangements that increase property value while enabling participation in luxury goods markets. The storage requirements include specialized wooden containers for silk protection, lead-lined chambers for spice preservation, and reinforced security measures for valuable merchandise, Giovanni explains, outlining property improvements that would enhance facility capabilities while increasing operational costs. I will finance these modifications as part of our partnership agreement, with improvements remaining as permanent property enhancements. These property improvements, financed by Giovanni but permanently enhancing your warehouse value, illustrate how international trade partnerships enable property development impossible through domestic rental income alone. The specialized facilities would attract future international tenants while providing capabilities for your own luxury goods trading ventures. The arrangement also provides educational opportunities that demonstrate how property ownership enables knowledge transfer and skill development in medieval commerce. Working with Giovanni offers insights into international trading techniques, foreign market conditions, and luxury goods evaluation that could transform your understanding of commercial opportunities beyond London's domestic markets. Success in international commerce requires understanding of foreign customs, currency systems, and political relationships that affect trade regulations, Giovanni observes, offering to share expertise that represents valuable knowledge investment. Partnership with established local property owners provides mutual learning opportunities that benefit both international and domestic business development. This knowledge transfer component adds substantial value to the property rental arrangement, providing education that could enable independent international trading ventures in future years. Giovanni's expertise in luxury goods evaluation, foreign market analysis, and international financial arrangements represents skills that typically require years of expensive travel and business development to acquire. The partnership negotiations also reveal how international commerce affects family inheritance planning and long-term property strategy. Giovanni's rental payments and business partnership could accelerate your property acquisition timeline while providing your children with exposure to international commerce that prepares them for expanded business opportunities in adulthood. My son William shows interest in international trade possibilities you mentioned to Giovanni, recognizing educational opportunities that could benefit your family's next generation. Would partnership arrangements include apprenticeship opportunities for promising young merchants seeking international commerce experience? Certainly, Giovanni responds enthusiastically. Italian trading houses regularly accept foreign apprentices who demonstrate ability and family backing. Young William could spend several years in Venice, learning Mediterranean commerce while establishing relationships that benefit your family's future business development. This apprenticeship possibility illustrates how property-based international partnerships create opportunities that extend far beyond immediate rental income to encompass generational advancement and family business expansion into global markets that define the future of medieval commerce. By the autumn of 1381, London's rapid population growth creates unprecedented opportunities for property development that will test your abilities as both investor and urban planner. The city's expansion beyond traditional boundaries generates demand for new housing, commercial facilities, and mixed-use properties that cater to diverse economic classes while generating substantial profits for merchants with capital and vision to participate in urban development projects. Master Robert Ashby, a senior member of your guild who specializes in property development, invites you to examine potential investment opportunities in Southwark, the district south of London Bridge, that represents the city's most dynamic expansion area. Unlike established districts with limited available properties, Southwark offers opportunities to participate in creating entirely new neighbourhoods that could define London's future commercial and residential development. Thomas, the opportunity before us exceeds anything available within London's traditional boundaries, Robert explains as you walk through muddy fields that could soon become thriving commercial districts. The King has authorised expanded settlement south of the Thames, with rights to establish markets, construct permanent bridges, and develop mixed residential and commercial properties that serve London's growing population. This royal authorisation represents a rare opportunity to participate in sanctioned urban expansion that provides legal protection and official support for large-scale property development. Unlike unauthorised construction that risks legal challenges and potential demolition, officially approved development projects receive royal backing that ensures property rights and provides access to legal remedies if disputes arise. The scale of proposed development dwarfs anything you've previously contemplated. Instead of purchasing individual existing properties, this project involves acquiring large agricultural plots, planning entire street systems, and constructing multiple buildings designed to function as integrated neighbourhood developments. The initial investment requirements exceed your current resources, but potential returns could establish your family among London's wealthiest property owners. The development plan includes 40 residential units, 12 commercial shops, 2 taverns, and a small market square that serves both neighbourhood residents and travellers crossing London Bridge. Robert continues, outlining construction plans that represent comprehensive urban planning rather than piecemeal property acquisition. Total investment approaches £200, but projected returns exceed £30 annually once fully occupied. These financial projections illustrate both the enormous profit potential and substantial risks inherent in large-scale urban development projects. Success requires sustained investment over multiple years, careful coordination of construction activities, and effective marketing to attract tenants and commercial operators. However, failure could result in catastrophic losses that exceed your ability to recover through existing business operations. The development project also requires partnership arrangements that spread risk among multiple investors while providing diverse expertise necessary for complex urban planning. Robert proposes organising a joint venture including 6 guild merchants, each contributing specified amounts of capital, property management expertise, and ongoing operational responsibilities that ensure project success. Partnership structure provides crucial advantages for development projects of this magnitude, Robert explains, outlining organisational arrangements that protect individual investors while enabling collective action. Shared financial risk prevents catastrophic individual losses, while diverse expertise ensures professional management of construction, tenant relations, and ongoing property maintenance. Your potential contribution includes £15 initial investment, ongoing property management responsibilities for residential units, and marketing expertise for attracting cloth merchants and textile-related businesses to commercial spaces. This arrangement leverages your existing skills while providing learning opportunities in large-scale property development that could define your future investment strategies. The Southwark location offers specific advantages that make development projects particularly attractive for merchants seeking diversified property investments. Proximity to London Bridge ensures steady traffic of travellers, traders, and commercial activities that support tavern operations and retail businesses. Agricultural land prices remain relatively low compared to established urban districts, enabling larger-scale development at reasonable initial costs. However, Southwark development also involves unique challenges that require careful risk assessment and strategic planning. The area lacks established infrastructure systems that support property values in traditional London districts, no guild-sponsored security forces, limited access to skilled craftsmen for property maintenance, and uncertain legal jurisdictions that could complicate dispute resolution or property rights enforcement. Infrastructure development represents our greatest challenge and opportunity, Robert acknowledges, recognizing practical obstacles that could affect project success. We must coordinate construction of roadways, drainage systems, and security arrangements that create livable neighbourhoods while managing costs that could eliminate profit margins. These infrastructure requirements demand coordination with London authorities, cooperation among development partners, and substantial additional investments beyond basic property construction costs. However, successful infrastructure development could create neighbourhood advantages that justify premium rental rates and attract quality tenants willing to pay for modern conveniences and security features. The project timeline extends across 3 years, requiring sustained financial commitment and active management involvement that could affect your existing business operations. Construction must proceed systematically infrastructure first, then residential buildings, followed by commercial facilities that depend on established population bases for customer support. This phased approach spreads costs over time while reducing risks through incremental development that can adjust to market conditions. Market analysis suggests strong demand for mixed-income housing that serves diverse economic classes within single neighbourhoods. Robert explains, outlining tenant strategies that could maximise occupancy rates while providing stable rental income. Skilled craftsmen need affordable housing near commercial districts, while prosperous merchants seek convenient residential locations with business opportunities. This mixed-class development approach reflects London's evolving social structure, where rigid segregation between economic classes gives way to integrated neighbourhoods that provide diverse housing options while supporting varied commercial activities. Your property management expertise positions you well for tenant relations that balance different economic groups' needs while maintaining neighbourhood stability and property values. The development also provides opportunities for innovative property designs that incorporate lessons learned from existing London districts while addressing problems that plague older neighbourhoods. Improved fire prevention through wider streets and better building spacing, enhanced sanitation systems that reduce disease transmission, and planned commercial areas that support neighbourhood economic activity represent improvements that justify premium rental rates. Construction standards will exceed typical London requirements, Robert notes, explaining quality improvements that increase initial costs while providing long-term advantages. Brick foundations instead of wood, tile roofing for fire prevention, and professional drainage systems that prevent flooding and sanitation problems that affect property values in older districts. These quality improvements require higher initial investments, but could provide competitive advantages that attract premium tenants while reducing ongoing maintenance costs and property damage risks. Superior construction also enhances property appreciation potential and provides better security for long-term investment returns. The partnership arrangements include profit-sharing formulas that reward both initial capital contributions and ongoing management responsibilities. Your £15 investment entitles you to proportional ownership shares, while property management duties provide additional compensation that recognises active participation in project success. As you consider this development opportunity, the decision involves more than financial calculations to encompass questions about risk tolerance, time commitment, and long-term investment strategy. Participation could accelerate your family's advancement toward London's merchant elite, while providing learning experiences that enable future independent development projects. However, failure could jeopardize your existing property investments and business operations through excessive financial exposure. The King's support provides unique legal protections that may not be available for future development projects, Robert emphasizes, highlighting the timing advantages that make current participation particularly attractive. Royal authorization ensures property rights, provides legal recourse for dispute resolution, and offers political protection against future regulatory changes that could affect private development projects. This government backing addresses many risks that typically complicate large-scale property development, while providing opportunities that may not recur during your lifetime. Participation positions your family to benefit from London's expansion, while contributing to urban development that could shape the city's future commercial and residential character. 3 months into the Southwark development project, a sobering incident reminds you of the stark realities facing those excluded from medieval property ownership opportunities. Mistress Joan, the widow who previously contested Master Geoffrey's property ownership, appears at your shop in desperate circumstances that illustrate how quickly economic security can collapse for those without property foundations or guild protection. Master Gardener, I seek your counsel and perhaps your mercy, Joan pleads. Her once respectable clothing now showing signs of wear that indicate declining economic circumstances. My situation has become dire, and I've heard you're a fair man who might consider arrangements that could benefit both parties. Her careful language reflects both genuine desperation and strategic understanding that property owners hold virtually all leverage in negotiations with working-class families. Joan's story reveals the cascading failures that trap medieval families without property ownership in cycles of deepening poverty. After losing her legal challenge to Geoffrey's property ownership, she faced eviction from the ground floor accommodation where her family had lived for 15 years. Her husband's death eliminated their primary income source, while legal expenses consumed their modest savings and destroyed her credit reputation within London's merchant community. I found work with Master William's wife, doing embroidery and household management for 8 pence weekly, Joan explains, detailing survival strategies that barely provides subsistence income for herself and 2 young children. However, housing costs consume nearly half my earnings, leaving insufficient money for food, clothing, and the children's basic needs. This economic reality illustrates the impossible mathematics facing working-class families in medieval London's expensive housing market. Joan's skilled needlework commands respectable wages for women's employment, but rental costs designed for dual-income families create affordability crises for single mothers. Her weekly housing expense of 4 pence represents a proportionally higher burden than wealthy merchants face, despite her accommodation's inferior quality and limited security. Joan's request reveals both her desperation and strategic thinking about potential arrangements that could provide mutual benefits while acknowledging the power imbalances that define landlord-tenant relationships in medieval property markets. I propose maintaining one of your properties in exchange for reduced rental payments. My domestic skills, needlework abilities, and property care experience could provide valuable services while ensuring reliable occupancy. This proposal illustrates how medieval rental markets sometimes develop creative arrangements that benefit both property owners and tenants facing economic difficulties. Joan's offer recognizes that property maintenance represents ongoing costs and time commitments that busy merchants might prefer to outsource, while her domestic expertise provides genuine value that could justify reduced monetary rent payments. What specific services would you provide, and how would we structure such arrangements? You ask Joan, recognizing both the potential benefits and risks inherent in non-standard rental agreements. Property maintenance arrangements require clear expectations, reliable performance, and fair evaluation methods that protect both parties while ensuring property preservation and tenant stability. Complete interior cleaning weekly, garden maintenance including vegetable cultivation that reduces household food costs, minor repairs within my capabilities, and coordination with skilled craftsmen for major maintenance needs, Joan responds, outlining a comprehensive property management package. Additionally, I could provide needlework services for your household or other tenants, creating additional value beyond basic property care. These service offerings represent substantial value that could justify significant rent reductions while providing Joan with stable housing and economic sustainability. However, such arrangements also create complications regarding service quality expectations, performance evaluation, and potential disputes that could affect property conditions or neighbourhood relationships. The discussion also reveals how gender affects property access and economic opportunities in medieval England's male-dominated commercial system. Joan's widowed status eliminates legal protections and economic advantages available to married women, while her exclusion from guild membership limits employment opportunities and business development possibilities. Female property ownership remains extremely rare, leaving widows particularly vulnerable to economic displacement and housing insecurity. My children could also contribute appropriate labour. My son Thomas, age 12, shows aptitude for basic construction and maintenance tasks, while my daughter Mary demonstrates excellent domestic skills that could assist with property management. Joan continues, recognizing that family labour contributions might strengthen her proposal's appeal. Child labour contributions reflect both medieval economic realities and family survival strategies that modern sensibilities might find troubling. However, Joan's offer acknowledges practical circumstances where children's work contributions provide essential family income, while offering valuable training in skills that could enable future economic advancement. The arrangement Joan proposes also illustrates alternative economic relationships that sometimes emerge within medieval property markets when standard rental payments become impossible for working-class families. Barter arrangements, service exchanges, and creative payment structures enable property occupancy while providing property owners with valuable services that reduce operational costs and management responsibilities. Such arrangements require careful documentation and clear performance expectations, you explained to Joan, recognizing both the humanitarian appeal and practical complications inherent in non-monetary rental agreements. Property maintenance standards must meet neighbourhood expectations, while service quality must justify reduced monetary payments. This documentation requirement reflects legal and social considerations that govern medieval property relationships. Written agreements protect both parties by establishing clear expectations and dispute resolution procedures, while community standards ensure that property arrangements maintain neighbourhood reputation and property values. Joan's situation also highlights the broader social implications of medieval property ownership systems that concentrate housing security among guild members while creating vulnerability for working-class families. Her skilled needlework and proven domestic capabilities represent valuable economic contributions, yet her exclusion from property ownership opportunities perpetuates economic insecurity that affects her children's future prospects. I understand your concerns about arrangement complexity, Joan acknowledges, demonstrating awareness of property owners' risk considerations and legal obligations. However, my desperate circumstances require creative solutions, while your property investments could benefit from reliable maintenance services that exceed what monetary tenants typically provide. This mutual benefit recognition illustrates how medieval economic relationships sometimes transcend simple commercial transactions to encompass broader social arrangements that address community needs while providing business advantages. Joan's proposal offers genuine value while addressing her family's crisis through arrangements that acknowledge economic realities facing both property owners and working-class families. The negotiation process reveals how medieval property markets sometimes accommodate individual circumstances that don't fit standard rental arrangements, creating customized solutions that benefit both parties while maintaining property values and neighborhood stability. Joan's proposal requires evaluation of service value, risk assessment, and community impact considerations that extend beyond simple financial calculations. I'm willing to consider a trial arrangement, you tell Joan, recognizing both the humanitarian opportunity and practical benefits her proposal offers. 3-month trial period with specific service expectations and performance evaluation procedures that protect both parties while ensuring property maintenance standards. This trial arrangement provides Joan's family with housing stability, while giving you opportunity to evaluate whether service-based rental arrangements offer advantages over traditional monetary tenants. The arrangement also demonstrates how medieval property ownership sometimes enables property owners to provide community assistance while maintaining business prudence and property investment security. As Joan expresses grateful relief at this opportunity, her situation reminds you of the profound differences between property ownership security and rental dependency vulnerability in medieval England's economic system, while illustrating how creative arrangements sometimes bridge the gap between commercial interests and humanitarian concerns. The success of your expanding property portfolio and international trading partnerships has not gone unnoticed within London's guild hierarchy. Master William Hartwell, current warden of the Drapers Guild, approaches you during the Autumn Guild Feast with a proposition that could transform your family's position within medieval England's merchant elite. The conversation takes place in the Guildhall's private chamber, away from younger members who lack the experience and property holdings necessary for senior guild responsibilities. Thomas, your business acumen and property investments have impressed the guild leadership, Master William begins, his formal tone indicating the serious nature of this discussion. We believe you're ready to assume greater responsibilities within our organisation, particularly regarding property acquisition and development projects that advance guild interests throughout London. This invitation represents recognition of your transformation from successful individual merchant to community leader, whose property, expertise, and financial resources qualify you for roles that shape guild policy and influence London's commercial development. Guild leadership positions provide access to political influence, business opportunities, and social status that extend far beyond individual property ownership advantages. The specific role Master William describes involves coordinating guild property acquisitions that consolidate merchant influence within key commercial districts while ensuring favourable terms for guild members seeking property investments. This position requires substantial personal wealth to participate in major transactions, detailed knowledge of London's property markets, and political skills necessary for negotiating with city authorities and competing guilds. The guild seeks to purchase the entire block adjacent to our current hall, creating expanded facilities for member meetings, international trade negotiations, and property-related business coordination. Master William explains, outlining development plans that would establish the Drapers Guild as London's preeminent textile trading organisation. This acquisition requires coordination among multiple property owners, complex financing arrangements, and careful planning to maximise both guild interests and individual member benefits. This project scale exceeds anything you've previously encountered, involving property purchases exceeding £100 and construction costs that could reach similar amounts. However, successful completion would establish the Guild as London's most influential textile organisation, while providing member benefits that justify substantial individual investments and political commitments. Your role in this development would involve property evaluation, negotiation coordination, and ongoing project management that demonstrates your advancement from individual investor to community leader. The position offers substantial compensation through profit-sharing arrangements, but more importantly, provides access to political influence and business opportunities available only to senior guild officials. Guild leadership also provides opportunities to influence London's property development policies, ensuring regulations that protect merchant interests while encouraging continued commercial expansion. Master William continues, describing political responsibilities that extend beyond guild membership to encompass broader civic leadership. Your property expertise qualifies you to represent merchant interests in discussions with royal officials, city authorities, and foreign trading representatives. These political opportunities illustrate how medieval property ownership creates pathways to governmental influence that enable merchants to shape policies affecting commercial development, taxation systems, and international trade regulations. Guild leadership positions provide platforms for advancing both personal business interests and broader merchant community objectives. The conversation also reveals how guild property projects create opportunities for member enrichment while strengthening collective political influence. The proposed development would provide rental income for participating investors, expanded facilities for member businesses, and enhanced political status that attracts additional members and increases guild influence throughout London's commercial community. Participation requires substantial financial commitment, but provides corresponding opportunities for property investment returns and political advancement, Master William explains, outlining investment requirements that would consume significant portions of your current wealth while potentially generating much larger future returns. Guild leadership positions also enable your family to participate in opportunities unavailable to ordinary members. These enhanced opportunities include priority access to major property development projects, preferential terms for international trading partnerships, and social connections that facilitate strategic marriage alliances and inheritance planning. Guild leadership provides generational advantages that extend beyond individual achievement to establish family dynasties within London's merchant elite. The discussion also addresses succession planning and long-term family strategy considerations that accompany guild leadership responsibilities. Senior positions traditionally pass to sons who demonstrate appropriate business capabilities and community commitment, Master William notes, indicating opportunities for William to eventually assume leadership roles that continue family advancement across multiple generations. This succession potential illustrates how medieval guild systems create opportunities for establishing family legacies that extend far beyond individual property ownership to encompass community leadership, political influence, and social status that define England's emerging merchant aristocracy. Your property investments provide foundation for family advancement that could rival noble houses in wealth and influence. However, guild leadership also involves obligations that could affect your family's freedom and business flexibility. Senior guild positions require continued residence in London, active participation in community affairs, and financial contributions that support guild activities and member assistance programs, Master William explains, outlining responsibilities that accompany enhanced status and opportunities. These obligations include charitable contributions for guild members facing economic difficulties, financial support for community infrastructure projects, and time commitments for political activities that advance guild interests. While prestigious, guild leadership requires balancing personal business interests with community responsibilities that could limit individual autonomy and strategic flexibility. The political aspects of guild leadership also involve risks that could affect family security and business operations. Guild officials occasionally face conflicts with royal authorities, competing guilds, or city officials that require diplomatic skills and political judgment, Master William acknowledges, recognizing potential complications that accompany enhanced political influence and community leadership. These political risks include potential conflicts over taxation policies, trade regulations, and property development projects that could result in legal challenges or economic retaliation against guild leaders. However, political influence also provides opportunities to shape policies that benefit merchant interests while advancing personal business objectives. The decision requires careful consideration of both opportunities and obligations that accompany guild leadership, you tell Master William, recognizing the significance of this offer for your family's future prospects. I need time to discuss implications with Margaret and evaluate how leadership responsibilities would affect our existing business operations and property investments. This thoughtful approach reflects the complexity of guild leadership decisions that involve much more than individual advancement to encompass family strategy, community responsibilities, and long-term political considerations. Guild leadership could provide opportunities that establish your family among London's merchant elite, but also creates obligations and risks that require careful evaluation. Certainly, such decisions deserve thorough consideration, Master William agrees, understanding the magnitude of commitments involved in guild leadership roles. However, opportunities for advancing to senior positions arise infrequently, and your qualifications make you an obvious candidate for community leadership that could benefit both your family and our guild's continued development. As you prepare to leave this pivotal conversation, the offer represents a potential transformation that extends far beyond property ownership to encompass community leadership, political influence, and social status that could define your family's position within medieval England's evolving merchant society. Your property investments have created opportunities for advancement that seemed impossible during your village youth, yet require careful evaluation of the obligations and risks that accompany such elevated social positions. The winter of 1382 brings an economic crisis that tests every aspect of your property investment strategy and reveals the crucial differences between wealth built on real estate foundations versus purely commercial ventures. A combination of harsh weather that disrupts continental trade routes, political tensions with Flemish territories that affect wool exports, and urban food shortages that reduce consumer spending creates the most challenging economic conditions you've experienced since establishing your merchant career. The crisis begins with news that reaches London's merchant community through guild networks and foreign trading partners. The Flemish ports have closed to English wool shipments indefinitely, announces Master Geoffrey during an emergency guild meeting, his usually confident demeanour showing strain that reflects the severity of disruption facing textile merchants. Political disputes between the Crown and Flemish authorities have eliminated our primary export markets just as winter inventory reaches peak levels. This trade disruption affects your cloth business immediately and dramatically. Raw wool purchases made in anticipation of spring export sales now represent expensive inventory with no apparent market, while finished, cloth goods lose value as wealthy customers postpone luxury purchases during uncertain economic conditions. Without property-based income streams, such trade disruptions could force business closure and family financial disaster within months. However, your diversified property portfolio provides crucial economic stability that enables survival during commercial crisis periods. Rental income from your Watling Street property continues arriving weekly, providing steady cash flow regardless of international trade disruptions or seasonal business fluctuations. The warehouse partnership with Giovanni generates substantial monthly payments that continue despite textile trade problems, while property appreciation maintains underlying asset values even when business profits disappear. Merchants without property foundations face bankruptcy within weeks, Master Geoffrey observes grimly, referring to several younger guild members whose business operations depend entirely on trading profits without real estate security. Property ownership provides the financial stability necessary for surviving economic disruptions that destroy purely commercial ventures. This contrast illustrates fundamental differences between wealth accumulation strategies that depend solely on business success versus diversified approaches that combine commercial activities with property investments. Your rental properties continue generating income while cloth trading profits evaporate, providing family financial security that enables long-term strategic planning rather than desperate short-term survival measures. The economic crisis also creates property investment opportunities that favour merchants with available capital and stable income sources. Several distressed properties have become available at reduced prices. Margaret reports after surveying London's property market during the commercial downturn. Merchants facing bankruptcy offer excellent properties at substantial discounts to raise cash quickly. These distressed sales provide opportunities to expand your property portfolio at favourable prices while helping fellow merchants avoid complete financial disaster. The baker's house on Fish Street, normally worth £20, becomes available for £15 cash as Master Thomas attempts to raise money quickly to avoid bankruptcy. Such opportunities reward property investors with available capital while demonstrating real estate's role in providing economic stability during crisis periods. Your tenant relationships also prove crucial for maintaining property income stability during economic difficulties. Jones' service-based rental arrangement continues providing property maintenance while reducing your operational costs during tight financial conditions. The goldsmith apprentice maintains his rent payments through continued employment, while Giovanni's international trading operations prove less vulnerable to purely English economic disruptions than domestic merchant businesses. Tenant diversity provides income stability that single-class rental strategies cannot match. You observe to Margaret while reviewing property account ledgers that show continued positive cash flow despite commercial trade problems. Mixed tenant arrangements reduce vulnerability to economic disruptions affecting specific occupational groups or income levels. This tenant diversification strategy illustrates risk management approaches that successful medieval property owners employ to ensure income stability during economic uncertainty. Properties serving only wealthy merchants might lose all rental income during commercial crises, while buildings accommodating diverse economic classes maintain occupancy and payment streams through varied tenant circumstances. The crisis also demonstrates how property ownership provides collateral for emergency financing that enables business survival during temporary economic difficulties. Your warehouse property serves as security for guild loans that finance continued operations until trade routes reopen, while rental properties provide steady income that supports loan repayment schedules, impossible through commercial profits alone. Guild emergency financing requires property collateral that ensures repayment capability, Master William explains, when arranging temporary business loans for inventory management and operational expenses. Merchants without real estate holdings cannot access credit arrangements necessary for surviving extended economic disruptions. This financing advantage illustrates another crucial benefit of property ownership that extends beyond rental income to encompass access to capital markets and credit arrangements unavailable to merchants without real estate security. Your property investments provide financial flexibility that enables strategic responses to economic challenges rather than passive acceptance of business failure. The economic downturn also affects property values and rental markets in complex ways that require careful management and strategic thinking. While some properties lose value due to reduced demand and tenant financial difficulties, others maintain stability through location advantages, tenant quality, or unique characteristics that provide continued appeal during difficult economic conditions. Prime commercial properties near guild halls and major markets maintain value better than residential properties in peripheral districts you observe while evaluating your portfolio's performance during the crisis. Location advantages become more important during economic difficulties when tenant options become limited and property competition increases. The crisis period also provides valuable lessons about property investment strategies that prove most resilient during economic difficulties. Mixed-use properties combining residential and commercial functions provide income diversity that pure residential or commercial buildings cannot match. Properties serving diverse economic classes prove more stable than those targeting single income levels or occupational groups. International partnerships also demonstrate their value during domestic economic crises. Giovanni's Venetian trading connections provide alternative market access that reduces dependence on disrupted English-Flemish trade routes, while his rental payments continue regardless of English domestic economic conditions. International business relationships provide economic diversification that purely domestic merchant activities cannot achieve. The crisis teaches important lessons about wealth-building strategies that emphasize foundation security over maximum short-term profits. You reflect while planning long-term recovery strategies. Property ownership provides stability and opportunities that purely commercial ventures cannot match during economic uncertainty. As spring approaches and economic conditions begin stabilizing, your property-based wealth foundation enables strategic planning for recovery and continued growth rather than desperate survival measures. The crisis has weakened many competitors while strengthening your relative position within London's merchant hierarchy, providing opportunities for property acquisition and business expansion that reward preparation and diversified investment strategies. The experience reinforces your understanding of property ownership's crucial role in medieval wealth building and economic security, while demonstrating how real estate investments provide foundation stability that enables merchants to survive economic crises that destroy less diversified business operations. As you sit in your counting chamber on a quiet evening in late 1383, reviewing the property deeds, account ledgers, and guild documents that represent your family's accumulated wealth, the transformation from your village origins seems almost miraculous. The wooden chest before you contains evidence of achievements that would have been impossible without the property investment strategies that enabled your rise within London's merchant hierarchy and your family's establishment among England's emerging commercial elite. Your property portfolio now encompasses 5 rental properties, 2 commercial warehouses, and development shares in the Southwark project that continues expanding London's urban boundaries. The combined rental income from these holdings exceeds £15 annually, more than many noble estates generate, and sufficient to support your family in comfort, while funding continued business expansion and strategic investment opportunities. More importantly, your property investments have created generational opportunities that extend far beyond immediate financial benefits. William, now 17, demonstrates exceptional aptitude for both textile trading and property management, having spent the past year learning international commerce through Giovanni's partnership, while developing practical skills in tenant relations and building maintenance. His education encompasses knowledge and connections that position him for advancement opportunities unavailable to merchants' sons without substantial family property foundations. Further, the Southwark project has attracted its first permanent residents, William reports, displaying the organised thinking and business communication skills that mark him as a worthy heir to your accumulated wealth and social position. Master Robert believes occupancy will reach 50% by next spring, with rental income approaching projected levels despite initial development challenges. This successful development participation illustrates how property ownership creates opportunities for wealth multiplication that pure commercial trading cannot achieve. Your £15 investment in Southwark development now shows potential for generating £3 annual return indefinitely, while the underlying property continues appreciating through London's continued urban expansion and population growth. The success also demonstrates how medieval property ownership enables participation in city planning and development that shapes urban growth while generating substantial investment returns. Your involvement in Southwark development provides you with influence over neighbourhood planning decisions, priority access to future development opportunities, and social connections with London's most successful property developers and urban planners. Margaret joins you in reviewing family accounts and planning future investment strategies. Her contributions to property management and business development having proved equally crucial to your success. Catherine's marriage negotiations proceed favourably, she reports, referring to discussions with Master Edmund's family about uniting your children through strategic alliance that would combine property holdings and business interests. Her dowry arrangements could include the Fish Street property, creating opportunities for business partnership between our families. These marriage negotiations illustrate how property ownership enables strategic family alliances that multiply wealth and influence across generations. Catherine's dowry property would establish her marriage as partnership between established merchant families rather than simple domestic arrangement, providing both families with expanded business opportunities and enhanced social status within London's commercial community. Your younger son Robert, now 14, shows interests and abilities that suggest different career development paths that your property wealth can support through education and opportunity. Investment impossible for families without substantial real estate foundations. Robert expresses interest in legal studies that could qualify him for civic positions and governmental service, Margaret notes, recognizing opportunities for family advancement into political influence and administrative power. This educational investment possibility illustrates how property-based wealth enables diversified family advancement strategies that extend beyond commercial activities to encompass political influence, professional development, and social elevation that establish merchant families among England's governing classes. Robert's legal education could provide your family with governmental connections and political influence that complement your commercial success and property holdings. The evening's reflection also encompasses consideration of broader social impact that your property investments have achieved within London's evolving urban community. Joan's successful transition from desperate widow to stable tenant through service-based rental arrangements demonstrates how property ownership enables merchants to provide community support while maintaining business prudence and investment returns. Joan's arrangement has exceeded expectations, Margaret observes, noting how creative rental solutions sometimes provide mutual benefits that transcend purely commercial relationships. Her property maintenance and needlework services provide excellent value, while her family's housing stability enables her children's education and skill development that could enable future advancement. This successful arrangement illustrates how medieval property ownership sometimes enables innovative solutions to community problems while maintaining investment viability and property values. Joan's children now receive education and training opportunities that could qualify them for guild apprenticeships or skilled trades, demonstrating how property-based community support can create opportunities for working-class advancement within established social structures. Your relationship with Giovanni has evolved into permanent partnership that establishes your family's participation in international commerce, extending far beyond London's domestic markets. Giovanni proposes expanding our partnership to include direct investment in Venetian trading ventures, you tell Margaret, describing opportunities for geographic diversification that could establish your family's commercial interests across multiple countries and currencies. This international expansion possibility illustrates how successful property investment provides foundation, capital, and credit access necessary for business diversification that transcends local economic limitations. Your London property holdings serve as collateral for international ventures, while providing stable income that supports family security during business development periods, requiring substantial time and financial investment. The guild leadership position offered by Master William represents another dimension of advancement that property ownership has enabled. Guild officials wield influence over commercial policy, urban development decisions, and political relationships that affect London's entire merchant community while providing individual families with access to governmental authority and social elevation approaching noble status. Guild leadership would require significant time commitments, but provide our family with political influence and business opportunities that extend far beyond individual property ownership. You reflect while considering long-term implications of community leadership roles. Such positions enable merchants to shape policies affecting commercial development while establishing family legacies within London's governing elite. As you secure the evening's documents and prepare to join Margaret for family time, the contrast between your current circumstances and village origins illustrates property ownership's transformative power within medieval England's social hierarchy. Your parents could offer only basic agricultural skills and peasant social status, while your children inherit substantial property holdings, international business connections, political influence opportunities, and educational advantages that position them for continued advancement across multiple generations. The property investments that began with your single shop house on Bread Street have created wealth accumulation and social advancement opportunities that seemed impossible 15 years ago. Your success demonstrates how medieval urban property ownership provides pathways for social mobility that transcend traditional class boundaries while creating security and opportunities for family advancement that extend far beyond individual achievement. Your story also illustrates broader patterns of urban development and social change that characterize medieval England's transformation from agricultural feudalism toward commercial capitalism and urban-centered economic activity. Property ownership enables merchant families to accumulate wealth that rivals noble estates while maintaining social flexibility and economic adaptation capabilities that hereditary aristocracy cannot match. As you reflect on your family's remarkable advancement and consider future opportunities for continued growth and social elevation, property ownership emerges as the fundamental foundation that enabled transformation from village peasant origins to established position within London's merchant elite, while creating generational advantages that position your children for achievements that could exceed even your own remarkable success within medieval England's evolving social and economic hierarchy. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through medieval England's complex property landscape. We've walked in the footsteps of Thomas Gardner as he navigated the three-tier world of property ownership that defined medieval society, from the desperate rental dependency of the working poor through the strategic investments of the emerging merchant class, to the vast feudal estates of the landed nobility. Through Thomas's eyes, we've seen how property ownership in medieval England wasn't just about having a roof over your head. It was about political power, social mobility, economic security, and generational legacy. The Guild-controlled property markets, the international trading partnerships, the careful tenant selection, and the development of entire neighbourhoods all reveal a sophisticated economic system that laid the groundwork for modern capitalism. Most remarkably, we've witnessed how a single property purchase could transform not just an individual's circumstances, but their entire family line for generations. Thomas's journey from village origins to merchant elite illustrates the profound social mobility that property ownership could provide in medieval England, while also highlighting the rigid barriers that excluded the vast majority from such opportunities. If you enjoyed this deep dive into medieval property ownership and social mobility, please like and subscribe for more immersive historical content. Your support helps me continue exploring the fascinating stories of how ordinary people navigated extraordinary times, building the foundations of the world we know today.